Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we are going to take a look at the greatest weapon Azuth Aindra can bring to bear, the Armor of Reinforcement, and what it and other power suits could do, and why it even exists in a medieval fantasy game or the New World. But before we're going to take a look at all of this, let me thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. Also, please check out my fantasy channel, it's linked down in the description. Now, with all of that said, let's dive into today's topic, and the power suit, as it was known back in Yggdrasil, was only introduced into the game in a later expansion, known as the Fall of Valkyria. And it was the same add-on that also made it possible to build automatons, like Shizu Delta for example. And the reason why android battlemates and 3-meter tall mech suits became a thing is because Yggdrasil was apparently losing players to other dive MMORPG, like Aberrage, which was a mech fighting game, and therefore Yggdrasil Online wanted to capture a wider audience by introducing more mecha-based content in order to compete with the popular mech and sci-fi games in the market. But this apparently didn't help at all, or wasn't enough, to stop the slow decline of Yggdrasil Online, despite these powered suits being specifically designed with new players in mind. And I say this because these suits were power leveling tools. They were specifically designed so that they could be piloted by low-level beings, who then would receive a great variety of buffs, perks and attack options, that then would allow these new players to quickly level up their new character, which meant that even noobs could reach the endgame fairly quickly, as the power suits could be as strong as normal level 80 players. And therefore the first 80% of the grind could be skipped easily in a short amount of time. And with that said, let's get into the more specific things, namely what is buffed and what isn't. The suit will increase stats like attack, speed, magic attack, magic and non-magical defense, but won't change, or rather increase, the HP or the MP of the user one bit. Meaning that while a low-level player would still receive all of the defense values of, let's say, a level 80 being, the weaker player would only have its weak HP to absorb any damage that made it through the defense, hence why Albedo's punch was felt so harshly by Azuth Aindra, despite Albedo visibly holding back. This is also similar to how the transformation of a doppelganger will increase all of its stats, except for like HP and MP. Now, aside from the more defensive capabilities of the suit, it also enabled players to use built-in offensive attacks. Azuth Aindra, thanks to his suit, gained access to a ton of spells, like Chain Dragon Lightning, a spell of the 7th tier, something that was downright mythical to the wider New World. And Firestorm, a divine area of attack that caused massive fire damage to wherever it hits, was also a remarkable powerful spell of an unknown tier. And Azuth Aindra's armor would also use a ray of dark and green light to hit Albedo with, only for the spell to cause no visible damage, which sounds a lot like the spell Disintegrate from Dungeons and Dragons, which, while it is used more like a bit of Force Lightning from Star Wars, or the spell Avada Kedavra from Harry Potter, fundamentally works the same. A small green lightning springs forth from the fingertips, and then whoever the fingers have pointed to, the spell will make it either very dead or very angry. But in Albedo's case it was more of an amused reaction. With her stats, armor and resistances, Albedo could shrug off such a low tier death spell without any problems whatsoever. And lastly, these configurations weren't fixed, meaning players could choose from a wide variety of spells and effects that the armor could have. So for example, some spell slots could be used for healing or even resurrection magic, and not necessarily only for offensive spells. And of course, then there's the main weapon, Azuth Aindra's Assault Rifle. A gun as tall as a human, and powerful enough to kill Death Knights and Death Warriors without any effort whatsoever. And these bullets dealt pure physical damage, but it is also possible to use bullets that also could only deal pure magical damage, or a mix between them. But while all of these various tools and enhancement were very useful for low-level players, high or maxed out level players couldn't use them properly at all. This is known since Aman Omar Hitotsu, one of the supreme beings and members of the original Nine's own goal, the precursor organization of Einsulgon, tried fighting Pero Ronchino with them, and the loss was apparently so catastrophic that the player never used the suit again. But this also means, and indeed it was confirmed by Einsulgon, that Nazarick still has access to a few powered suits that could be used to power level someone Einsulgon favors. And lastly, the flight ability of the battlesuit is something that would even persist when the thrusters were destroyed, since it is the armor itself that grants the ability to fly, and not the effects the developers added later. And with all of that said, I say thank you very much for watching. Please let me know what your opinions about the armor are, and as usual I say special thanks to Arder Daddy Arder, Badger Yi, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dad Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralchivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazor, Mervek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, oh hell no, Normal Toad, Okill, Overlord General Gasper, Patty Pantum, Personage, Primus 11, Cune Kerkos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rak Edsmasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenukai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.